Jonah is a prophet with a passport and a problem. When God says east to Nineveh, Jonah buys a ticket west to Tarshish. He's the original quiet quitter, trying to vanish into the hold of a ship while a divine hurricane hunts him down. The pagan sailors are frantic, praying to every god they know, while Jonah is snoring in the dark until the lot falls on him. Recognizing his rebellion is the cause of the chaos, he tells the crew to toss him overboard. The sea goes silent the moment he hits the water, but Jonah's story doesn't end in a watery grave. Instead, he's rescued by a great fish. In the claustrophobic darkness, Jonah's rebellion turns to a desperate, poetic liturgy. From the belly of Sheol, he realizes that salvation isn't earned, it's a gift. He learns you can't outrun a God who owns the ocean floor. 3 days later, the fish has a bout of indigestion, and Jonah is spat back onto the beach, smelling of seaweed but finally ready to listen. Jonah finally arrives in Nineveh, the belly of the beast. His sermon is the shortest and perhaps most half-hearted in history, 40 days, and you're toast. He offers no path to redemption. Yet the city explodes into a revival so thorough that even the cattle are forced to fast in sackcloth. When God sees their turn and cancels the disaster, the revivalist doesn't celebrate. He has a total meltdown. Jonah sits on a hill, fuming. He finally admits why he ran. He knew God was too gracious and merciful, and he'd rather die than see his enemies forgiven. God responds with a masterclass in perspective. He grows a leafy plant to shade the pouting prophet, then sends a worm to kill it. When Jonah mourns the plant, God delivers the knockout punch. You care about a vine you didn't grow, but shouldn't I care about a city of 120,000 lost people and their animals? The book ends on that haunting question, leaving Jonah induced to wrestle with a mercy that is far wider than our own.
Subscribe.